Right, in the way of prefacing here, I know you're looking at this grimy computer screen. I make no apologies for it. We're looking at this video by the Council of Trent. This is a Catholic apologist named Trent Horn. And I want to just listen to him a little bit, his take on the notorious Pearl, the notorious Pearl. Did I spell that right? I don't know. And well, let me just go ahead and play a little bit of the beginning of this, and you know, the visuals are what they are, but just let's listen in.
Pearl Davis, or Pearl as she's known online, because she opposes feminism. But in the past few weeks, her behavior in interviews has shown she doesn't hate feminism. Pearl just hates women. She believes, or at least she gives the impression she believes, that women are always inferior to men, and women are uniquely the source of society's problems. I'm going to start with the most blatant and possibly blasphemous example of this, involving what Pearl said about the Blessed Virgin Mary.
Okay, blatant and possibly blasphemous. He's really building this up, so Pearl must have said something really, really bad about Mary, right? She must have really said something terribly offensive. And I'm a big fan of Mary. I love the BVM. Had no problem with Marian ecclesiology when I was brought into the Catholic faith. In fact, it was a big part of what was appealing to me about it, and still is what's appealing about it. But anyway, let's hear what Will Trent has to say.
But I've recently started reconsidering Catholicism, and the reason being is that, and I'd like to say this is not definitive, I've noticed patterns in society and in history. And one pattern I've noticed is that we tend to elevate women higher than they should be and say they're more special and awesome than they are. And recently I've had the thought, wondering if the Catholic Church did that with Mary. But I'm not sure, so.
Okay. That's the entirety of what the shockingly blasphemous thing that Pearl supposedly said about Mary. She said maybe the church has elevated, has been has been guilty of elevating women too much, and maybe they've elevated Mary too much. She says, I'm just toying with this idea. I don't really know, but I'm just, it's something I'm thinking about. That's what she says. Now let's hear the Council of Trent's reaction to this rather mild statement.
I still go to Catholic Church now, but it's kind of, I can't really get that thought out of my mind recently.
Wow. You have to have a really deep contempt for women if you can't praise Mary as the most honored of God's creatures because Mary is a woman.
Trent Horn's reaction to Pearl saying something extremely mild about Marian doctrine, that maybe the church promotes Mary too much. I don't agree with Pearl at all. I don't think the church promotes Mary too much. I think, I'm perfectly okay with where the Catholic Church and the Orthodox Church as well, the exalted position that Mary has as the what they call in Eastern tradition the Theotokos, the God bearer, the woman who gave birth to God, as occupying some exalted position. I know that this is something that Protestants have a problem with, but I have never had a problem with it. But at the same time, what I don't really find what Pearl has to say here all that offensive. Even if I find it offensive at all, She's just saying maybe the church has exalted Mary too much, because out of a desire to I don't know, maybe the church is overly flattering to women, or overly eager to exalt and praise women. I don't think that is true, but but Trent Horn's response, you heard it. Trent Horn actually pulled the wow, just wow. He said, "Wow. If you hate women so much that blah 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 blah, you can't even blah 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 blah." He really is becoming all stern and condemnatory. Like, what in the world? This is like the mildest of objections, and it's basically not that different from the way Protestants think about Mary, except, I mean, and I think if Trent Horn had a debate with a Protestant who didn't think that Mary should be exalted the way that she is in the Catholic Church, his response wouldn't be, "Wow, wow, excuse me, you must really hate women," the way that he's reacting to Pearl here. Now, the larger issue that I find with this entire interview. Okay, let's skip to another part of it, where Pearl talks about obesity.
This is another example of how Pearl shows her unique contempt for women. She looks at the evidence for different bad things, but only applies that evidence to women. For example, recently on the Michael Knowles show, Pearl criticized women for being overweight and saying this is a reason that guys shouldn't marry women.
It would greatly restrict divorce.
Yeah, but I think until you do that, you're going to have a hard time getting men to sign up, until women get in shape. If 70% of women are overweight, that's not a great sell to men.
But okay, so
yeah, 80% of women gain 20 pounds in the first 5 years of marriage.
I don't know where Pearl gets her statistics from, but the obesity epidemic is not unique to women.
Okay, and that's true, and I don't want to get all lost in the sauce with statistics, but what Trent Horn just said is true, that the obesity epidemic is not exclusive to women, that there are plenty of men who are obese today as well. And it's not a good sign. But what I think is intellectually dishonest about his response here is that he doesn't acknowledge the fat acceptance or the body positivity stuff going on that's being pushed from the highest of quarters. From I mean, there's billions and billions of corporate dollars being funneled into this. Not into anti-obesity sentiments. I mean, isn't it kind of quaint? Wouldn't it be quaint to go back to 2009 when people were offended by Michelle Obama saying there are too many obese children? So, like, hashtag Michelle was right, and now it's like, yeah, they're obese, but they're beautiful. Big is beautiful. You can be beautiful at any size, girl. So, I mean, what Trent Horn is not acknowledging here is that there are fat men and there are fat and fat women. There's obesity is a problem of both sexes, but the body positivity stuff is being directed exclusively towards women. Women exclusively are being told it's okay to gain a ton. And if your husband has a problem with it, then he's just a pig. He's he he should love you no matter what. Now, I do think men and women in marriage should be tolerant and patient of one another's foibles and problems and so forth. But I don't think that this whole idea that it's okay for women to be morbidly obese, I don't think that's a good thing. And that is what is being pushed today, exclusively towards women. So this is kind of a red herring that Trent Horn has gone off on here. Now let me just talk about one more thing in this interview or in this video. Okay, women abuse children more.
And per capita rates versus overall rates of abuse. A point Clavin perfectly zeroed in on and Pearl hand-waved away as an excuse. There are about 450,000 perpetrators of child abuse in the U.S. each year, and 233,000 of them are women, about 52%.
Okay, all right. So let's just consider this here. So the thing is, Trent Horn is taking Pearl to task for saying that women abuse children more. And then he shows a statistic that says that shows us what? That women abuse children more. All right? Women, 233,918. Men, 213,672. The winner, women. So what in the world? And then he goes on to try to make an excuse of sorts. Oh, my battery's running low. We'll get through.
So even from an absolute numbers perspective, women are only barely more likely to abuse children. So to simply say they are more likely to abuse children is
true.
Misleading.
No, it's true.
However, as Clavin noted, women are around children much more. So it's not surprising there will be higher numbers of female abusers.
What? What we're basically taught to expect when we hear a child abuser, we're taught to think that it's the father. We're taught to think that it's a man, and that it's this whole thing. Oh well, women are around children more. Like that's supposed to be the reason. That's supposed to be an excuse. I mean, like the whole notion, the whole stereotypical notion is the father comes home from work drunk and angry and starts beating up his kids, right? And that's when the abuse happens, when the father comes home. It doesn't have anything to do with who is around the children more. But Trent Horn seems to be interested in trying to excuse women for abusing children more by saying, well, they're around children more. It's just like this incoherent supposed critique where he says that he takes Pearl to task, saying, how can you possibly say this, that women abuse children more? And then he shows the statistics, and it's close. It's a difference of 20,000 reported instances of abuse, but still it shows that women abuse children more. So Pearl is right. So what are you on about, Michael Knowles? And here's what I think Michael Knowles is on about. This really is my issue with this whole video, and with this whole tendency within, not just within conservative Catholicism, but within conservatism in general, mainstream conservatism, is this wanting to taking figures like Pearl, who I've never really I'm not a huge fan of her. I don't watch her all the time or anything like that. And I don't necessarily think that she's right about everything, or even about most things. I don't really know enough about her to say how I feel one way or the other. But I do think in an instance like this, Trent Horn is trying to show that he's trying to show that he's a good guy. It's like one of those things, one of those loathsome triangulation instances of there's people on the right who are just who are just like, they just say the worst things, and oh, they're so disgusting, and wow, just wow. Pearl said that she maybe thinks that the church exalts Mary too much. Wow, you must really hate women. He's going on like that, and I think what I see reading between the lines with someone like Trent Horn and others of his ilk is this tendency to want to say, we're good, to say to liberals, look, we're good people. We're good people. We hate Pearl just as much as you do. We hate people who are to our right. We think they're awful. We think they're just as awful as you think they are. So love us, please. Love us. Don't think that we're bad people anymore, please. Um, and since this kind of dovetails with my thoughts on that movie Cabrini, let me talk about that a little bit more just in the next couple of minutes before I wrap this video up. I've thought a bit more about the movie Cabrini and the way in which it's made by this conservative, the same people who came out with The Sound of Freedom, and so it has this reputation of being this far right QAnon, kind of outfit. But then they come out with this movie about a female saint, and they show her to be basically a girl boss, who sticks it to the hierarchy, who sticks it to the men, all the men that appear. Just about all of the churchmen whom she appears with are insulting her, are condescending to her, and she's just being a girl boss and standing up for herself and showing herself to be superior to them. And also another thing that's more or less discussed or portrayed in Cabrini is this exaltation of immigrants. Okay, in the case of Cabrini, it's Italian immigrants who settle in New York and who are discriminated against and who are called, slurs by Anglo-Saxon types, and that did happen, and I'm Italian, I'm Polish, so I'm far from being any part of the WASP elite. But there's of course, in dwelling on those kinds of issues, what is the movie trying to say? It's trying to say we should open our borders. We should stop being critical of governments who allow too many illegal immigrants to come into the country and disrupt the economy and disrupt the culture. It's anti-Christian to do that. We should instead be like Mother Cabrini, as we're portraying her in this movie. Which, how much resemblance that bears to the actual Mother Cabrini, I have no idea, but probably very little, I'm guessing. But we show her, or they show her in this movie, saying immigrants are people too. We should respect them. We shouldn't discriminate against them. And in this case, it's the immigrants are Poles, and Jews and Italians. These are the immigrants who are showing up in the late 19th century, and Irish. But the new ones who are really getting it the hardest right now are the Italians, according to the movie. So the makers of that movie, again, just like Trent Horn, seem to be wanting to kiss up to liberals by saying, we hate those bigots who are against illegal immigration too. We hate those people who are who want to restrict immigration. We're against them. We're good people, just like you. And you know what? Just like you, we're feminists. We think that women are better than men. Look at all these, vile and incompetent and just despicable church leaders that we show, and we show our heroine just sticking it to him like a real boss babe. You know, the more I think about that movie, the more it bothers me, because again, there's this real tendency amongst people on the right to really want to show the liberals that, you know, we're not that bad. We're really just like you. And then when they have something that someone they can triangulate, you know, somebody who they think of as, you know, who is to their right flank, they use that person or that group of people, you know, the so-called, they did it with the so-called alt-right back in the day, which was 7 or 8 years ago now. They, you know, they use them to virtue signal, and there's something so vile about, oh, here's a way I can improve my image. Here's a way I can kiss up to the liberals. You know, they talk about the people who criticize Pearl and call her a pick-me. I mean, this is the true pick-me-ism, is the kind of conservative who says, really, we're just like you liberals. We know that you're good people, and we're good people too, because we want unrestricted immigration too, and we think women are great, and that men should really just cool it and let women run things, because you know, women are better than men. We all know that. Um, so it's like a way to sort of try to show their bona fides to the liberals, and trying, it's a way of sort of again, a kind of pick-me-ism, which you really think that even if you first of all, you shouldn't care. What you should care about is the truth, not trying to get in good with the liberal establishment. But I mean, even if the goal was to get in good with the liberal establishment, do you really think anyone on the left thinks to themselves, well, you know, I thought that Angel Studios were just vile, right-wing, Trump-worshipping QAnon types, but now I saw Cabrini, and now I know they're feminists, and they're you know, mass immigration proponents, so I like them now. No, of course not. Of course they're not thinking any such thing. So it's bad to even want to try to kiss up to be a pick-me to the liberal establishment, but it's also going to be a failure. So people like Trent Horn and others should just cool it. Just stop trying to do that, and just stick to articulating the truth of the Catholic faith. That's all. That's all I have to say. Leave your comments below.